All right, we're going to start with degree of a term. And a degree of the term is the sum of the exponents of the variables within the term. And I'm going to give you some examples. I have 3xy negative 2x to the fourth. Let's see. 4x squared y and 5. Okay, so we're looking for the sum of the exponents of the variables. That's very important that you note that we are only looking at the exponents of the variables. We're not looking at the exponents in the entire term. Only the ones that are on the variables are important. So if you had an example that had like 5 squared x to the fourth, that 5 squared doesn't make a difference on the degree of the term because I can simplify that 5 squared to 25, and so it's kind of like it doesn't exist if you simplify it. So only look at the exponents of the variables when you're doing the sum. So the first thing they want you to look at is the numerical coefficient. So the number factor in front is the 3. And then we're going to look at the degree of the term. So the degree of the term, I'm looking at all the exponents on the variable. So this exponent is an understood 1, and that exponent is understood 1. So I have 1 plus 1 is 2. So the degree of the term is 2 because I'm adding up the exponents on the variable. So 1 plus 1 is 2. The numerical coefficient on the second example is negative 2. What is the degree of the term? Well, it only has one variable. It's raised to the 4th power, so 4 is your degree. So the degree of the term is 4 because that's the exponent that it's raised to. There's only one variable. The next example, I have 4x squared y. The numerical coefficient is 4. The degree of the term is, well, I have 2 for my first exponent and 1 for my second exponent. So I have 2 plus 1 is 3. So the degree of that term is 3. For the next one, I only have a 5. The numerical coefficient is 5, but we don't have a variable to look at. So since there's no variable, the degree of the term is 0. Since there's no variable, it's a constant term, the degree of the term is 0. Now let's look at our tricky example. A lot of you would probably want to say 6 for our original example, but the degree, the degree of the term is 4. Okay? So the degree of the term is the sum of the exponents of the variables within the term. Now let's look at the degree of the polynomial. The degree of the polynomial and the degree of the term go hand in hand, but it's one step further. So the degree of the polynomial is the greatest degree of any term in the polynomial. Now what that tells me is if I have the greatest degree of any term, I'm having to find the degree of the terms first before I can determine the degree of the polynomial. So let's look at some polynomial examples. I have negative 6x to the fourth plus 3x to the second plus 5, x to the... I was going to skip a step. I'm going to skip a step so I have room to write. So I have x to the third minus 2xy minus 4x minus 5. And then I'm just going to get space in between. Alright, so what type of polynomial is this? I have 1, 2, 3 terms, so this is a trinomial. And remember we only discussed a monomial, a binomial, or a trinomial. So if I was to put other examples in between here, I guess I can. x squared plus 4x minus 2 and 3xy. So our first one is a trinomial. I have 1, 2, 3 terms. Then we want to find out what the degree of the polynomial is. So it's the greatest degree of all the terms. Now I'm going to slide this up so you can see a little better the problems. So what I'm going to do in red is I'm going to write the degree of each term. So I want you to look at each term individually. So the degree of this first term is 4. The only exponent they have is 4, so the degree is 4. The second exponent is 2. The last exponent is 0. So the greatest degree of the polynomial, or all the terms, is 4. So that's going to be the degree of the polynomial 4. Okay? The next one, I'm going to do the same thing. The degree of the first term is 2. The degree of the second term is 1. The degree of the last term is 0. So since the highest degree of the terms is 2, the degree of the polynomial is 2 as well. Okay? So the third one, the degree of that first term is 3. The degree of the second term is a little harder to determine because I have 2 variables. I have 1 plus 1 for the variable degree, so that's 1 plus 1 is 2. This degree is 1, and that degree is 0. So the highest degree is 3, so it's a degree 3 polynomial. For this one, we only have 1 term, and its degree is 2, so that's going to be the degree of that polynomial. All right? Now what we're going to do, I know that I didn't fill out this part on these because I wanted to kind of focus on the degree of the polynomial. And so again, you look at each degree individually, and then the highest degree is the one for the degree of the polynomial. Look at each term individually, and the highest degree is the degree of the polynomial. So each one, highest degree, each one, highest degree. The biggest mistake students make is they want to add them across. That is not what you do. You're looking at them individually, and then the biggest one is going to be the degree of your polynomial. Now, types of polynomials. I have 1, 2, 3 terms, so this is a trinomial. Notice that this one has 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is what you would call none of these. In your homework, they're going to ask you whether it's a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, or none of these. And so just put none of these because that's going to be your answer for your homework. And this one is a monomial. It's only 1 term. All right. The last thing we're going to do is evaluate and review some things, and we'll do that in our next video.